Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Raluca Barbu. I am the Adult Programming Specialist for the Algonquin Area Public Library. In celebration of Polish Heritage Month, we are excited to have Chef Victoria Pelke with us, who will teach us how to make a traditional Polish dish. I emailed everyone a list of ingredients yesterday so you can cook along with Victoria and prepare lazy pierogis together. If you didn't receive that email, please send me a message in the chat and I will make sure you get the ingredients list and the equipment and the recipe. This is a Zoom webinar, so your microphone and camera will be turned off as attendees. You can enable closed captioning and ask questions through the Q&A feature, and Victoria will gladly answer them throughout the presentation. Please note that today's event will be recorded and will be available on the library's YouTube channel in the coming days. In case you need like a reminder of tonight's recipe. And I will now turn it over to Victoria. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Hello, everyone. I'm just going to start off this class with a little bit of a history lesson. I'm just going to start with introducing myself a little bit and like what I do and what kind of experience I have. Currently right now I am a kitchen supervisor at a fancy French restaurant. I'm Michelin star trained. This means I worked under a Michelin star chef and learned from him and trained under him for about 2 years. So I have experience with French cooking, Italian cuisine, Asian fusion, American contemporary cuisines, a lot of fine dining situations. This class is a little bit more relaxed than the fine dining situations I'm usually used to. I have been to Elgin Community College. I'm a culinary arts graduate there. I was a TA there, teacher's assistant for a while. And I also have event and catering experience. I think there might be a little bit of a lag in between where I'm at, but if you see that I got a couple photos of just me doing my thing. Just wanted to share those with you. This is a few dishes that I have done in the past. Maybe there's a little bit of a lag. I'm not really sure. I got my laptop over here and then I have the video feed over here. So it's like.
I think you're okay, Victoria. We
Okay,
can
great.
see the photos as you were talking. Yes, it's
Okay,
all
great.
good.
Thanks. It's just a little bit of a lag on my end. So.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this next slide, couple more different things I've done. I do pastries. I do like there's a picture of ramen over there. Picture of family meal. We cook family meal at work every day. Just some fun little things about me, little pictures. But let's get to the pierogies because that's what you came for. Okay, so we have a few pictures of what we're going to be making today. Lenwi pierogies. They're lazy pierogies. Okay, so the definition of the pierogies are they're dumplings made from quark, eggs, butter, sugar, flour. They're traditionally served with sour cream, fried breadcrumbs, which is kind of what we'll be doing today. But you could also serve them on the sweeter side with some sugar, cinnamon. You could serve them with apples, like a cranberry sauce too, if you wanted. The toppings are kind of endless with this because the dumpling is kind of like a basic flavor profile. So you could really just add anything on top of there that you wanted to, really. So what is quark? Quark is it's classified as a soft cheese. It's made from soured milk. Some characteristics are it's firm and it's creamy. It's also like a little crumbly. Um, and it's very similar to like farmer's cheese or cottage cheese. So these pierogies specifically are called lazy because instead of them being like rolled out, cut, and filled, they're actually just rolled and cut, and then you like pan fry them or boil them that way. All right, let's talk about a little bit about the origins. So the Silk Road. So this is some history about like the original pierogi, not necessarily the lazy pierogi, because the original pierogi is the stuffed kind. So I found a lot of information about that during my research. So it was said to have traveled along the Silk Road from the east toward the west. So the origins are probably from around the China area, and then it was kind of brought over on the Silk Road, which is a ancient network of trade routes that connected China to the West. A few more little fun facts about the pierogies is that the word derived from the Slavic term for ceremonial cake, which was used in sun worship. And pierogi is also initially treated as a festive dish in that sense. And it is often eaten on Christmas Eve with a meatless filling, which is like potatoes and cheese. Over time, the dish has evolved, becoming a staple in the Polish cuisine, with recipes being tweaked to like local tastes or availability of ingredients. So now I kind of want to talk about this man called Saint Hyacinth. He is the patron saint of pierogi, which is very interesting, that they have a saint dedicated to pierogies. There are a couple tall tales about him and pierogies. So both events happened around the same time the Mongols were invading Europe. Saint Hyacinth was kind of a light in that dark time for Polish people. So one of his first little tales is the storm. So basically there was this huge storm, right? Saint Hyacinth was going village to village, kind of like being a light in the dark war time that they were going through at this period. So he visited a village northeast of Krakow that had a really bad hailstorm, and it destroyed all of the crops that they had. So Hyacinth was kind of like messenger of God kind of a deal. He's like, okay, everybody pray to God. And then on the next day, it is said that wheat just sprouted from the ground. And so what did the villagers do? They made him pierogi to thank him. So another fun little tall tale about Saint Hyacinth is it's kind of similar to the last one, but he was going around visiting villages, and this specific village got invaded by the Mongols in 1241 very, very badly. So there's a big famine happening in this village, and so what he did, Saint Hyacinth, what he did was have people make pierogies for the villagers that were in the famine. So it's kind of a fun little fact that I thought was interesting is that there is now an old-timey saying in Poland that roughly translates to hyacinth with the pierogi, and this statement is kind of similar to like holy cow here. Let me see if I can hold up I didn't get a chance to write down the Polish version of this, so I'm going to kind of just hold this up. I do not fluently speak Polish, so I will not be trying to pronounce that today. Let's see, Lazy Pierogi today. So it's a big time-honored dish. Many Polish kids have grown up eating the dish. It's not really on a lot of restaurant menus, but it is in a place called Milk Bars in Poland, which is basically just like a Polish cafe, that has like a small menu, maybe some coffee. And usually it's eaten on Fridays because it's often a meatless dinner day. Let's see, pierogies in other countries. So I mentioned that pierogies may have come from China via the Silk Road. There was a lot of trade routes and things like that connected to the Silk Road. So I thought it would be fun to kind of compare pierogies to different countries. So in Japan, they have gyoza, which is very similar to pot stickers. In China, they have dim sum, which is like a soup-filled dumpling. Ukraine, they have varenki. Italy, they have raviolis. We all know that one. And in Mexico, they have empanadas. And then you see all the pictures of the different ones there. So that is kind of the conclusion of our little history lesson. And now I'm just going to do a little bit of rearranging to get to the point of cooking. Okay, great. Thank you so much. And we can still hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Okay.
you. We can see the camera and
Okay, great.
the surface,
Thank you very much.
the kitchen.
Okay, so I think the first thing I kind of want to talk about is some ingredients that I picked up and kind of where I got them. And also I wanted to share the book that I got this recipe out of. I don't really know if this is like backwards or what, but it is this book.
It's good. We can see it good. Yes.
It is that book, Treasured Polish Recipes. Treasured Polish Recipes is where I got this book from my mother's cabinet at home. It's a pretty old book. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the farmer's cheese, the quark that we were talking about. So I went to this place called Deli for You. It is a Polish market. I do believe that there is one in Algonquin, pretty close to the library, actually. But this is the brand that I got. It is Ludwig Dairy Farmer's Cheese. And that's the brand I'll be using. today. And I also, you don't have to use Polish butter, but I did grab some Polish butter from there since I was there anyways. The fun thing about this, I did try these, like this kind of butter side to side with the butter that you would normally buy like at Meijer or Walmart. And there is like a more earthy, nutty flavor going on with the Polish butter. And that just comes from the way they feed their cows. They feed their cows differently in Poland than they do here. Okay, so let's kind of jump into making these lazy pierogies. So the first thing, let me adjust just a tiny bit. Okay, great. So the first step is to take that farmer's cheese. Take the farmer's cheese and we want to put it through our fine mesh strainer. Okay, so you see when it comes out, it's very like it's in this big chunk. And what's going to help you get it through here quicker is kind of breaking that big chunk into tinier chunks. Okay. And then what you want to do is take your spatula, take the back of it, and then just kind of start pushing through the sieve, kind of like I'm kind of holding, I'm like choking up on the spatula a little bit, and I'm kind of using that to push it through the sieve. My recommendation for this to be a little easier would to be have the cheese kind of at room temperature before you start doing this. You can do it from cold. It just might be a little bit more difficult to get through at room temperature. It kind of makes it super easy and smooth to get through. Also, I would recommend to measure out your cheese after it's gone through the sieve, just because it changes so much, like in texture wise. So beforehand it was like a big chunk, and now it's kind of like a light and airy, flaky almost. And then also you see on this side of the strainer all of this excess, and you just want to scrape that back into the bowl so we get all the good cheese bits. Okay, so that's our cheese set to the side. We also have to do some eggs. So we have to separate the eggs because we're going to be whipping the egg whites, and then the egg yolks are going to go into the dough. So also what I have here is my mise en place for this recipe. I'm doing a half batch of the recipe that you have tonight, just so I'm not wasting so much product. They don't have a ton of people to feed, but this is 6 tablespoons of flour, right? Half tablespoon of butter, and then I have my salt and my sugar, and then we're going to crack these eggs. So also another fun fact, if you let your eggs be at room temperature, the egg whites will whip up a lot faster than they would if they were cold. So what I'm going to do with these eggs, instead of cracking it on the side of the bowl like this, I'm going to crack it on a flat surface so that it's less likely that the shells will go into your final egg product. Okay. So my whites right here, my little egg yolk goes in a bowl because that's going to get mixed in with all of the rest of the ingredients.
Victoria, I just wanted to say that the image is very slow. I don't know if it's like Like people are telling me that is we can see you very well. Maybe are you connected to the Wi-Fi or
I
I
am.
don't you are okay, because I don't know what else we can do like right now to have
Right.
a better view.
That
So
might just,
we can see everything that but not clearly. It's very pixelated.
I see.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's anything we can do about that.
Mm,
Yeah, now it's just frozen.
now it's frozen. Okay.
Do you think we can switch to the laptop?
Sure,
If-
let's try.
Let's try that. Right now, for example, it's super clear. Like all of a sudden it got super clear. The other one
Mm,
on your phone. Like right now it's perfect.
it's
I don't
good.
know what you did. It is,
Okay,
yes. So
maybe it
keep
was just
going.
a slow connection for a second.
Yeah, maybe. Now it's
Okay.
perfect. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, great.
Good, good, good.
Thank you. Okay. Where was right? We're gonna whip the egg whites. So I have the egg whites separated from the yolks. Right. So I'm gonna put the egg whites into the bowl, and I'm gonna grab my whisk, and I'm just gonna start whipping these egg yolks for about like, or I'm sorry, egg whites for about like 5 minutes. So it's gonna get a little noisy, I think, but we're just gonna go for it. So the reason I'm kind of tilting the bowl like this is because um, the whites kind of pool under here or over here to the side, and it's easier for me to whip all of them together versus how they would sit in like a single layer if I wasn't tilting the bowl. But as you can see, they're already like at a foamy stage. We just want to bring it a little bit stiffer. We want like a soft peaks, and I'll show you what I mean by that when we get there. And you don't have to do this by hand either if you have like a KitchenAid at home or like an electronic whisker that works too. As long as you get them to the soft peak stage. You kind of see now, I think we're at like probably minute 2 or 3, and it's very, very foamy now. Okay, so at this point, I don't know if you can see, but what I'm doing is bringing the whisk up, and there's a peak coming off of the whisk like that. And that's how you know you're at soft peaks. Put that to the side for just a second. And then we're gonna mix the rest of the dough. So I have my egg yolks. Okay, I'm gonna do my sugar and my butter. And then I'm gonna kind of mix these together first. This is kind of like a similar method to like if you're baking cookies and you want to cream the sugar with the butter and eggs beforehand before you add all the other ingredients. This just kind of makes it a lot smoother and easier to mix towards the final stage of this dough. So I'm mixing with the spatula, and you can kind of see that there's butter chunks in there still. So I'm just kind of like pushing down onto the bowl to kind of smooth out these butter chunks. And that's what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to add the salt in. I'm going to add the flour. And then I'm just going to keep mixing. I'm going to scrape down the sides. Mix, and I'm kind of just still pushing all of the ingredients together, like into the bowl. And it looks very not hooked together right now in the early stages. But you just want to keep scraping the bowl down. All right, scrape the bowl, scrape the sides, and just keep pushing all of the ingredients together, like force them together almost. Pushing down into the bowl until it all comes together into a nice dough ball. If you wanted to, you could also do this with your hands. We will be using our hands a lot for this recipe. Anyways. Okay, so before it was like kind of crumbly, and now it's like all the flour is kind of mixed in, but we don't want to stop here because we want like to be kind of like a nice dough ball looking. So it's all fully incorporated, all these little pieces. And then after that, get in there with my hands a little bit. After that, we're going to fold in the egg whites that we just whipped. Okay. So if they've been sitting here for like a little bit, they might get a little flat. It's okay. You just whisk it for like 30 seconds to a minute again, and it comes right back. And then I'm gonna take my spatula, scrape all of the egg whites into the dough bowl. And so now I have everything together. And what I'm gonna do is kind of the same similar situation we've been doing, just kind of pushing the egg whites into this dough ball and folding. So it's like push and a fold. And then just kind of keep doing that until it is incorporated fully. You know, it looks like a little weird right now and like it's not going to come together, but it will. Okay. At this point, it's looking kind of weird. We just got to keep working through it. And also, I almost forgot about our cheese. So we got to put our cheese in there too. Just kind of want to keep working it in until there's no more lumps. So you see here, it is still pretty lumpy. So I'm just going to keep working in all those little lumps. And just kind of folding over like so, and then pushing the ingredients together. If you do it on a KitchenAid, I would probably suggest the paddle attachment for that. So this dough is a very, very wet dough. So don't be worried if you're like, ah, it's so wet. No worries. Because that's exactly how it's supposed to be. So right now I'm going to turn on my pot of boiling water so it has time to get up to temperature while we kind of work on shaping this dough. Okay, that water is on, and I also put about, it's maybe like a 2-quart pot, and I put about half cup of salt in there. You want the water to be pretty salty, just because all of the starches from the flour in this dumpling are going to be it's going to be quite a lot of starch. So if you salt your water really well, it helps them from sticking together. And it also helps with flavor, of course, because it's salt. It's a flavor enhancer. So when you're salting your water, you want it to kind of taste like the sea, is kind of a thing we say. I'm just still kind of working in these little dough pieces into the egg yolks. You just want it to be like a consistent, even texture, so everything cooks evenly. And then you have these beautiful dumplings at the end. If you still have chunks left in this dough and it's not fully smooth, it's not going to cook evenly, and there'll be like raw bits in it, and some of them will be cooked, some of it will be raw, like I said, and then that's no good. So just kind of working these in. But we're getting there. It's very close. It's just getting a little bit messy, but that's okay. So I just want to show you how I check for chunks. My position. Check for chunks. So I kind of just like go through the dough like that. And I can still kind of see some chunks in there. So we're going to want to work all those in. Right? It's like the bright yellow chunks versus the light pale yellow. Okay. So by this point, we want to kind of scrape all of the product into a little dough ball down here, right? Just get all of it off the sides. Wash my hands real quick. Okay, so this dough is very wet, as I mentioned before. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna need like a clean, flat surface to be rolling out this dough, okay, for this next bit. We're also gonna need a bench scraper. Okay, this is my bench scraper. It's like one of those plastic malleable ones. These are basically they're dough cutters. Pastry people use them a lot. Pastry chefs use them a lot. But these, you can use a metal one. Like I said, mine's plastic. You can use a metal one. You can get them at any store really. Like I'm sure Meijer or Walmart probably have them. Or if not those places, you could find it on Amazon, I'm sure. So I have my bench scraper. I have a lot of extra flour right now. Because you're going to need a lot of extra flour for this dough because it is very wet. This may seem like a crazy amount of flour, but I think I used about half of this container. So that's like a cup, put down like a cup of flour for this dough. And so what I'm going to do, so the goal here is to kind of make a long piece of rolled dough like this. So to help you out to get to that point, what I'm going to do is when I'm letting the dough out, I'm going to drop it along the flour, but I'm going to drop it, I'm going to like move the bowl along with me, like in the shape that I want it already. Okay. So now I have it kind of in the shape that I want it, right? It's just not very even right now. But we're going to fix that. Okay. So I'm going to put like a bit of flour on my hands. Just my hands don't really stick to this dough. Okay. I'm going to also drizzle just a little bit of flour on top. Okay. All right. What I'm going to do here now is I'm kind of coming in from both sides, one with my bench scraper, one with my hand. And I'm kind of just making it a little skinnier and a little bit more oblong, like so. Okay. And any bits that are thicker than others, you just want to go in and try and make this line as even as you can. And I'm not squeezing hard, and the motion is kind of like a pinch motion, like this. But I'm not squeezing hard. I'm being very light with the dough. I'm also not trying to put any extra flour. Like I'm not trying to incorporate extra flour into the dough itself. The flour is just kind of like on the outer edges of this dough right now. And that's only so it doesn't stick to everything we're using. Like it's not sticking to my hands. It's not going to stick to the bench scraper because of the amount of flour that's on it. Okay, so I'm just, lightly tapping to kind of even out the dough. Okay. See that well. I'm going to try and just zoom in real quick. So this is the dough right now, and it's just like this nice, like skinny, long, even looking piece. Right. So now what I'm going to do, kind of coat my fingers in flour, and then I'm going to go on the top and kind of just flatten it. So I'm just very lightly patting this dough. Remember, it's very soft. It's very wet. And if you ever get any dough sticking to you, flour is your friend, right? So I'm just very lightly patting it down. So I'd say like maybe like it's like a 1/2 inch thick right now, right? That's kind of where you want it. You just want to make sure it's as even as you possibly can make it. But the bench scraper is really your friend. If there's anything that you're going to buy for this recipe, definitely the bench scraper. You could use a knife to cut these as well, but I just find the bench scraper is very helpful in everything that we just did. Okay, so I think I failed to mention this in the equipment, but if you have it, a tray lined with parchment paper like so will be very helpful with kind of transferring these over to the stove. So that's what I have here, and I'm definitely going to put a bunch of flour on top of the parchment. So when I go and cut these, they don't stick during transfer. So here's the parchment sheet filled with flour, okay? Great. So let me see if I can get a close up on my first cut over here. I think it's looking pretty good. So what I'm going to do is kind of like an inch pieces, and I'm going to do it on a bias. So this would be a straight down cut. This is a bias cut, like on a diagonal. Okay, so I'm going to cut that, and then I'm going to kind of go down the line doing that. And if you need to, just pat it with flour because the dough is going to stick, right? I'm just kind of doing that all down the line. So my bench scraper stuck to that one a little bit. So extra flour, extra flour. Okay. So those are the pieces. Okay, I'm going to show you how to transfer now over to the tray. So I'm going to clean off my bench scraper's got like excess dough on there. So I'm just going to clean it off by wiping it. Don't want any of that extra to get in the way. Okay, let's see. Let's start with this guy. So a lot of extra flour on the bench scraper. Okay. And that'll easily transition you onto the bench scraper like this without sticking that bad. Okay, and then you can easily just transfer over to parchment using your bench scraper. Okay. Okay, so again, add flour on the edge.
Is it all-purpose flour?
It is all-purpose flour. I have tried this recipe with whole wheat flour. It works just as well. Bread flour also worked as well. I did not specifically try it with gluten-free flour, but I don't see why it wouldn't work. You might just have to adjust, like maybe you need like a little less, like adjust the amount of the flour if you're going to use gluten-free, just because it's like a less dense flour than regular flours. But yeah, if you wanted to do whole wheat, make this a little healthier, that's definitely a thing. I also wanted to mention that I have made this recipe where I have frozen these. So like this would be from raw, and I froze one from raw to see how it would cook up like from frozen. And then I also cooked one, froze that to see if like how well the quality would be doing it that way. And let me pull up my notes just real quick. So when I did the raw piece straight to the freezer, It came out really cool actually, because you cook it for like 3.5 minutes in boiling water. And then when you like cut into the dumpling, because of the cheese, it's kind of like really gooey in the middle, not like undercooked gooey, but like cheesy gooey. Like it was pretty cool to do it that way. So like if you're making like a big batch of these, you could easily like from raw, freeze them and cook them again. So I thought like the raw way was pretty cool. But I also cooked these, took a piece and froze it. And it was about a 3.5, 4 minute cook on that as well. I just thought from raw was a little bit of a cooler, like mouthfeel texture type situation. So if anyone was wondering about that, you can definitely freeze these, and then like save them and cook them for another time, definitely. Okay, so I got about 10 pieces out of this. Okay, this was a half batch of the recipe that was sent to you. So I got about 10 pieces, and this is kind of what they look like. Okay, so real quick, I'm gonna bring these over to the stove top, and then we're gonna kind of, I have to maneuver the camera over there a little bit, so just give me 1 second. Okay, so this is stovetop. Great, I think it looks good. So I have my boiling water, right? It's like a 2 quarts of water to a half cup of salt, because it tastes like the sea. Grab your trusty bench scraper to help you kind of maneuver these into here, just because it really is like a soft dough. If you're making this at home, I think you understand what I mean. And if you end up making this recipe, you'll definitely understand what I mean. So just going to transfer, I'm just kind of sliding under. Right, so I have like 2 on here, so I'm just gonna cook 2 of them right now. I'm gonna just kind of slide it right in there. Okay. If you go quick enough, I'm gonna do 4 in there. And it kind of stopped boiling, so I'm just gonna turn it up so it comes back to a boil again. So we're gonna cook these for about 3.5 to 4 minutes. And you know, if you lose track of time or something, a good way of kind of being able to tell if they're cooked is they'll start floating. So right now they're like very towards the bottom of the pot. And once we hit back up to a boiling point, see they're kind of floating, but it's only been like a minute. So we're just gonna give it a little bit longer. Also, there's excess flour in there a little bit. You just kind of scoop that out. That's fine. But going back to what I was saying about, you know, having the excess flour on there isn't going to be such a big deal because it's all coming off in the water, like so. So we're just going to kind of wait for these to cook. But while those cook, we can kind of talk about toppings. Today I did the traditional breadcrumbs. So I have breadcrumbs right here. what I did for these was, this is actually like leftover sourdough bread from work. And I just kind of like crushed it up, let it dry out, crushed it up a little bit. And then what I did was get like a really hot pan with like a tablespoon or two of butter in it to get these golden brown like this. A fun way or a little tip on these is, if you let them sit in the pan and you wait for them to get really, really dark, they're going to continue cooking after you think that they're done. So you kind of want, like, a trick is to kind of just pull these out of the pan before you think they're ready, because they will continue to cook. Even on, like, what I have, it's just a paper towel and a paper plate here, but you can kind of see like all of the oil that it has soaked up, all the extra excess butter that is soaked up. So I'm gonna pull these guys now, and then you can see them, how big they got in the water from what we started with, but they will shrink back down a little bit more after this like initial cook. Get those 4 pieces. I'm just gonna cook the rest of these real quick. So there's a lot of different ways you can go with pierogies. I think I might have mentioned earlier that you can make them sweet. I think my favorite way to eat these at the moment is just to kind of drizzle some sugar on it, or sprinkle some sugar on it, right as it comes out of the boiling water. And it's always best to season anything you're cooking while it's hot. So I have just a little bit of sugar over here, and I'm just gonna season these ones with sugar. And then the other ones we can top with the breadcrumbs. And then also, I'm gonna show you, so this is the boiled version, and then I wanna show you the version where, like a pan fried version. So I'm gonna get a hot pan working. So this pan in the back that's getting hot for my other pierogies that I'm going to pan fry. Just want to wait for the pan to get pretty hot. I'm going to put in some butter. We're going to kind of brown the butter and then get a really nice sear on them, and then we'll top those off with the breadcrumbs. So I've also seen these breadcrumbs done where you put a little bit of extra butter in there, and then you kind of use the brown butter and the breadcrumbs as the sauce for on top of the pierogi. But since I'm gonna kind of get them brown and get the butter in here with hand searing them, I didn't really do that with the breadcrumbs. Great. Cool. Another way you can tell that these are done is kind of, please be careful because it will be hot, but you can kind of touch there and kind of go like this. You know, if it's like extra slimy, that's all the starches and such from the flour. Then you know it's not really cooked anymore. But if it's not as slimy, it will be, you'll know that it's like the flours are fully cooked on there. I'm just gonna kind of fish all these out and get rid of this guy real quick. Great. We'll transfer over to this pan. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little bit of this butter, kind of put it in there. I kind of put all that butter in there. It was like 2 tablespoons, maybe. Okay, it's getting very, get closer. It's getting very foamy, which is good. Okay, and you want to let it just keep going like this until it starts browning, and I'll show you when we get to that stage. Now you can see it's getting even foamier, and now it's got like a brown, all those little brown specks. That isn't, it's not burnt. It's good. It's all of the milk solids are separating from the fats inside of the butter, and they are browning. Brown butter is good. It's very like nutty, a nutty flavor. It's really yummy. So I'm going to take these and put them in there. Sizzle, sizzle. A nice hot pan means really nice sear underneath. Okay. It is going to splash like just a little bit, just because we have hot fat and we have like residual water from the pierogies, and water and fat don't really mix, right? So it's going to be a little splattery, so be careful when doing that. Okay, I'm just going to kind of let those chill for a little bit and get nice color on the bottom. My pan was on really high earlier, but now I'm just going to like lower it just a little bit, kind of let the residual heat that's happening from the pan get it nice and golden. Otherwise, if you leave it on really high, eventually the butter will burn. There is a fine line between brown butter and burnt butter, right? Okay. So I'm just kind of lifting them up, checking them. You can use a spatula for this. I find the spoon to be a bit easier to kind of get under here. And flip it. We kind of got golden brown crust happening right now. Okay. Okay. Now the butter's getting really foamy and really nice. I'm going to kind of baste these pierogies with the foamy butter. Just adds more flavor to it. Yeah. Great. And then it's even easier if you want to tilt the pan like this. Kind of have all your butter sitting down here, and you just want to like butter baste them. This is actually a really fun way to cook a lot of things. Well, we call it butter basting. It's brown butter basting is what we call it. It's You can cook a steak like this. You can cook a fish like this as well. It's a very fun technique that we use a lot in the industry. Also, another way to add a bit more flavor to this would be if you wanted to add some like rosemary or thyme or garlic in here. It's not necessarily something that you would plate. It's just like an aromatic factor to it. So like you don't have to cut up the garlic or anything, like whole garlic. And you just throw it in here and it's just like an extra flavor factor. Okay, so I'm gonna plate these. Oh, nice. And we're running a little low on time, but I'm just about done. Okay. Oh, what I'm gonna do is just finish these with a bit of salt. A little extra, always season things while they're hot, unless they're from raw, right? And then I'm just gonna put some breadcrumbs on top. Kind of a traditional way. I just don't have any sour cream, but the very traditional way is breadcrumb and sour cream. So there you have it, lazy pierogies. Nice little dumplings. So that is all I have for you today. So maybe if anyone has questions or anything like that, I think we're opening for questions. And thank you everybody for coming. This was very fun for me. Hopefully I get to do this again with a different kind of a dish. And I think I'll hand it over to Raluca.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Victoria. Thank you for sharing your time. I can see you're very passionate about this. And I wanted to say that I'm Romanian and we have sort of a similar recipe, but we stuff them with plums and then we do the butter and the breadcrumbs with sugar and cinnamon. And they're
Yes.
also pretty delicious. Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Okay, and thank you everyone. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed cooking along with Victoria and I hope that you tried it or will try it at home. Ooh, we have a question here. Hold on.
Oh, great.
Would folding the cheese into the egg whites make it easier to incorporate the dough? I laugh because folding the cheese reminds me of that TV show. The fold. Anyway, yeah, so this is the question. If it would be easier to fold the cheese into the egg whites and make it easier to incorporate the dough.
I haven't tried it this way, but I don't see why that isn't like a great thing to try out at home if you wanted to, because it definitely could make it easier. Yeah.
Okay. And somebody else says that her mother used to call these plasky.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. So I think there's another one. No, that's it. That was it. What I wanted to say is that if you enjoyed this cooking program, please register and join us for a festive and hands-on treat decorating class inspired by the vibrant Mexican tradition of honoring the loved ones this Saturday at 10 a.m. in the large meeting room. Okay, everybody. And thank you, Victoria, and have a
Thank
good
you,
evening.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.